Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor. Just a quick heads up before we get started, this video is a long one. We cover a ton of information. There's chapters to get you through the different sections of the video if you don't want to watch the whole thing. But we do cover a lot of good information between these 18 and 19-inch tires. So grab your popcorn and enjoy. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor. And a few months ago, we decided we wanted to see what our long-term standard range Tesla Model Y would be like on the 18-inch wheels from a Tesla Model 3. We found out that our car actually weighs less than a long-range Tesla Model 3, and that we could use the same 18-inch wheels on this car as a Model 3. Now, all the other Model Ys, including the standard range, actually come with 19-inch wheels, and they're obviously heavier. They're about 4,300 pounds. But since our car weighs about 3,900 pounds, we thought, hey, let's try the 18-inch wheels and tires and see how they work. We were curious, would we see different efficiency? Would we see differences in ride quality? Would we see differences in noise or drivability? Who knows? So we made the plunge. We picked up some 18-inch Tesla Model 3 wheels, aero covers and all. And we reached out to Continental Tire in order to hook us up with some tires that would be an apples-to-apples comparison, because the OE tires for the Model 3 19-inch wheels did not have a comparable 18-inch tire size to fit those 18-inch wheels. So we reached out to Continental and said, hey, what tire should we do this test with that we can get in a compatible size for the 19-inch wheels and the 18-inch wheels? They recommended their Continental Extreme Contact DWS 06 Plus. This is an ultra-high performance all-season tire that should give us great dry weather performance, wet weather performance, and snow performance while still keeping a little bit of consideration to our efficiency sensitivities, if you will. So before dropping down to a non-original equipment wheel and tire size, we wanted to talk to Continental about what we should know going from the stock 19-inch wheels to the 18-inch wheels. So I had a conversation with Bjorn Glaser, an engineer over at Continental, to tell us what we needed to know. Alright, we're here with Bjorn from Continental Tire, and he's going to go over a little bit with us sort of what we can expect and some of the technicalities of working with both an 18 and a 19-inch tire on our vehicle. So Bjorn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hey, Charlie. And yes, my name is Bjorn. I work for Continental Tire. I'm a product manager, and so I get to do look into the future of product, the designing our products in a way that they best meet our consumer needs.
So when we started this endeavor in both our 19-inch tires and wheels and our 18-inch, your team recommended the Continental Extreme Contact DWS 06 Plus tire. Can you tell us a little bit why you all recommended this tire?
Yes, for sure. So the Extreme Contact DWS 06 Plus is a performance tire, which for a Tesla would be a typical choice, yeah. And with it being a performance all-season tire, it is a best of all worlds tire, in a way, you could say. Somebody who cares about performance, wants to drive year-round, wants to have plenty of fun, but yet at the same time a good amount of tread life, etc. So performance year-round, that is the one element. The other element is the range or optimization of range that you talked to me about. And with the latest generation, we really put an extra focus to optimize the range or fuel efficiency of the tire, which was relevant at all times for fuel efficiency, range. It really works the same in electric versus vehicles versus combustion engines. However, with Tesla drivers, people with electric vehicles now, they maybe have that extra little bit of focus on it, just because it does influence how far they can go before they need to recharge. So the latest generation of this tire focuses also on really optimizing towards that end of things.
Can you quickly explain what people should be wary of if they're going to go to a non-OE tire size, something like this that's not offered for the Tesla Model Y, but we know through careful consideration that it is safe to do?
Absolutely, yes. So don't just slap on any given tire size on any given car. That seems obvious. We both did the calculations that you need to check out what your axle load is, what your vehicle load is, and your tires need to exceed, of course, the requirements of axle and vehicle load for any vehicle that you're going to change a tire size on, right? So your tire has a load index, and a load index stands for the amount of kilograms or pounds or however you want to say of weight that tire can carry, right? And then on 2 tires on an axle, so forth, and then you have your axle weight and you have your vehicle weight. And of course, if for whatever reason you would go below the OEM load index, which means tire can carry less weight, you need to take careful consideration, as we did here, that weight that tire can carry is still above the needed weight, or the, let's say, the maximum weight that vehicle is ever going to see or have. Yeah.
Sure. So we verified based on our axle weights and vehicle weights and everything that going from the Model Y standard range, original 19-inch wheels and tires, we would be okay to go to the Model 3 18-inch wheels and tires, because our Model Y is actually lighter than the long-range Model 3, being the smaller battery and one less dry motor and everything. So we're all good on that aspect. When we were initially thinking about trying out the 18-inch wheels and tires, we had this pie-in-the-sky grandiose idea that we would see improved range by going to a little bit of a narrower tire. We were thinking a little bit less rolling resistance, a little bit less air resistance, but you, with your experience, burst our bubble just a little bit that that's probably not what we were going to see. So we were thinking less, a narrower tire. We're talking about a 7% narrower tire. We were thinking less contact patch, but you explained that that's not necessarily the case. Can you explain that?
Yes. So absolutely, the theory. Or in theory, it works to say, okay, have a narrower tire, it's more aerodynamic. It might be just a little bit lighter, so you have the weight there. And those are all contributors to rolling resistance, or with that range or fuel efficiency. However, to significantly move the needle in any sort of direction, you would need to make much bolder changes than what is normally reasonable within the same vehicle. And so based on our experience, on our data that we have, I told you before that I just don't see where there's going to be a noticeable difference in your range. So while yes, you reduce the width, you reduce the maybe overall material slightly, it's not enough to move the needle.
So why is it that some OEMs, for their more efficiency-sensitive vehicles, electric vehicles, that sort of thing, why do they often go with a very tall, very narrow tire, whereas Tesla went complete opposite and has 255s as standard on the Model Y?
Of course, you have different performances you always want to optimize in the vehicle, right? The different manufacturer might choose a different set of balance of performance. So as you go to a narrower tire, a larger sidewall versus a shorter sidewall with the 18-inch rim versus the 19-inch rim, right? That type of thing. Or a tall tire, you can influence positively to some extent your range, especially if you go taller, you could.
Why is that? Why is going taller more impactful?
Because when you go taller, you typically go higher in your pressure, and your basically your deformation as your, and this is the maybe the best layman understanding that I can have of it, but your deformation as your tire rolls through the so-called contact patch on the road is less, and therefore the deformation influences your rolling resistance or your range, and with a less deformation on the tire through the taller diameter, you actually do notice some impact in range. However, that being said, now that narrow tall tire also has disadvantages, maybe in responsiveness and handling. It potentially won't grip as well in different weather conditions. So there's always a pro and a con, and you try to figure out what is your manufacturer's sweet spot of where you want to be. And with that, I will throw in one more nugget here, that the initial designs of electric vehicles were very much done for people who wanted that range. A Tesla Model Y or Model 3, as well as now upcoming ideas of electric vehicles, are similar consumer preferences as they were before, just now you happen to have an electric engine versus a combustion engine.
Okay, so you mentioned consumer preferences. Let's talk just a little bit more on what a consumer might see if they're taking one of your tires in an 18-inch size or a 19-inch, while keeping the same outer diameter, so we're talking narrower sidewalls on the larger tires. What are some of the things we should expect? What are some of the consumer concerns that you all are addressing, talking with narrower, larger wheels and tires?
Yeah, so essentially your taller sidewall gives you more flex, and therefore that tire is going to become more comfortable, or that driving experience is going to become more comfortable. It's going to take out impacts more on the road, or absorb impacts more on the road. And especially if you have, let's say, an area where you have poorer road conditions, you might prefer that, you might like that better. On the flip side, when you talk about responsiveness, about handling, typically, of course, there's the extremes where that's no longer true, but within a normal range, when you reduce your sidewall height, you increase your rim, you make your tire wider, your response behavior, handling-wise, is going to be more direct. You often have better grip, so if you tested your braking distance of both tires, you might see a slight advantage of the one with the wider footprint, or the wider tire, essentially, with the shorter sidewall. Yeah.
It sounds like even between just the 18-inch wheel and tire and the 19-inch wheel and tire, we are dealing with a 13% change in sidewall width. So we should presumably see some noticeable change in driving dynamics, correct?
Correct. That is something you should see. So. Cool. So the preference is more on that rather than the range, I would say.
Awesome. Well, great. We've talked so much about user preference when both going from various types of tire to now going to different sizes of tire. So it's been really cool going through this process and kind of seeing how, there are so many different options for a consumer when it comes to what rubber they're putting on their cars. And so many people just think, yeah, whatever, give me something and I'll be good. But it is very interesting just to kind of know how much your car can feel different and be different and respond to your life differently just with changes of tires. So we really appreciate your expertise coming in here and kind of providing that expertise, and then just Continental kind of helping provide that window to information that a lot of people really don't realize. So thank you so much for your help in all this.
You're welcome. Happy to do it.
Cool. Okay, so our main differences are really going to come down to this difference in sidewall. These stock 19-inch tires have a 13% thinner sidewall here, and they're 7% narrower. So our contact patch on this road is going to be a little bit different, and we're going to get a different amount of squish, if you will. So as we go over road imperfections, there's going to be less give in this tire. It's going to feel a little firmer. So let's hop out on the road and see what sort of differences we notice from behind the wheel. I should also say, if you're interested in seeing the differences between these Extreme Contact DWS 06 Plus tires and the original Pro Contact RX tires, check the link in the description. We've already done a video comparing those two 19-inch tires. At this point in time, we've spent about 1,000 miles on both the 19-inch Extreme Contacts and the 18-inch Extreme Contacts. So we've had experience in all sorts of road conditions, weather conditions. I mean, not snow yet, but gotta wait until winter for that. And we've definitely come up with some observations and preferences between the two sets. So we're going to head out on a little bit of the Daily Motor test route here and talk about what we noticed with these 19s, and we're going to go back, switch back over to the 18s, head out on the same bit of asphalt, and talk about what we noticed with the 18s. It should be said the outer diameter is the same between the 18s and the 19s. Because we went with a thicker sidewall for the 18-inch wheels and tires, the actual diameter of each tire it's within a percentage point. It's very, very similar. So our speedometer reads just the same as it does in the 19s to the 18s. The Model Y has always had a firm ride. It's very firmly damped from the factory. It's clearly made for California-esque roads, very smooth, not a lot of potholes and imperfections. And Tesla clearly wanted it to be very go-kart feeling. It's very quick and responsive, quick steering, very minimal body roll. I mean, this thing pulls right out, and it's remarkably flat. Chris up at the Topher described the 19-inch tires as feeling square. If you envision a square as you drive, there's not a sense of rolling. There's just a sense of very quick turning. Hey, look, a Mitsubishi IMAV. Cute. Take a listen over some of these road imperfections. I like using that little bit of broken asphalt right there, that kind of square section, as a good tester. You just feel a lot of the road, you really do. There's every little bit you go over, you kind of feel transmitted into the cabin. Another thing that should be said, both of these tires are tested at 42 psi cold, so they're the same tire pressure in both cases. It's not a harsh ride, but as you'll see with the 18s, you still feel a good amount of the road kind of transmitted in there. If we take 90-degree corners like this, just very flat, and you also notice an immediacy between the wheel. When you turn, the whole car responds. There's a slight bit of roll back and forth, but overall, it feels very direct. No tire is going to be able to really change that secondary ride, the amount of wallowiness you feel in a car, and this Model Y has the opposite of that. It's very quick damping, so it's not old school American luxury car style of kind of waft up and forth, back and forth, and really take its time with the bumps. It goes right over the bump and evens right out. So it's very good for aggressive driving, but for daily type driving, it does make it a little rough. And like I said, no tire is really going to fix that too much. That's more, the tires are going to do more of those little road imperfections, the primary ride of smoothing that out. The 19s are very much characterized by a direct feel. You feel the road, you feel the steering. More of your communication from your hands and the steering wheel are going into the road and the car and changing direction, just like that. So let's hop into the garage, throw this thing up on the quick jack, swap over to the 18s, and go out and talk about those. 18-inch wheels are swapped on. Before we installed them, we weighed all four 18s and all four 19s, and they all came out about the same, within a pound of each other. 18s weigh 50 pounds with the wheel and tire combo. The 19s, 56. So you've got an extra 6, 12, 18, 24 pounds on the car, but more importantly, an extra 6 pounds of unsprung weight that you have to stop and go each time to get those things spinning. So you might see a little bit better efficiency, especially around town, a lot of stopping and going, just from the reduced weight of these tires. As we're going to talk about more, we actually didn't really see any significant efficiency differences between the two tires on the highway on our steady state testing, but the 6 pounds are 6 pounds, so it could make a difference. Another thing is take a look at the clearance with these 18-inch wheels. I mean, that is super, super close between the caliper and the wheel. Certainly couldn't go down to 17s, that's for sure. We didn't notice any rubbing having the wheels on there, but you wouldn't want your wheel weights to be in the way of those. So keep that in mind. In the rear, you got a little bit more clearance, caliper and the rotor a little bit smaller, so it's still pretty tight, but a little bit more clearance in there. But man, yeah. So we're gonna clean these wheels up a little bit. Got some dust on them from the last time we had them on the car, and then get back out on the road. Also, if anyone's curious, this is a quick jack provided to us by BendPack. It allows us to have a little mini car lift situation going on here in the garage, but totally portable. So we just kind of made a spot in the garage there for these two quick jack apparati to hang out, and then plug into a wall style outlet here, 120 volt, and you can operate them from right here, this little handheld mechanism, up, down, pretty simple. So get it all hooked up, it really isn't too bad. Get some hydraulic hoses going, and you have yourself a jack. Heading out with the 18-inch wheels and tires, one of the first things I noticed, and I remember noticing this last time tires were on the car as well, the steering is lighter. It must just be because of the difference in contact patch. These tires are 7% narrower, but it's just easier to steer. Another thing we're going to notice before too long is the tire pressure monitor light is going to come up. And that is because the Model 3's tire pressure monitoring sensors do not work with the Model Y. They went to a different type of sensor, different frequency or technology or something for the Model Y. And here I thought, oh, I can just pick up a set of OEM Model 3 wheels. It'll already have TPMS. We'll be good to go. But nope. After we drive for a little while, it'll realize something is amiss, and it'll pop up there and tell us it's TPMS warning. In fact, if we swipe over, you can see nothing for the TPMS. So we will have to get some TPMS sensors for running full-time with these, just because it's annoying to have that little alert come up. Come into the roundabout. Still a responsive vehicle, that's for sure, but lighter steering, just a bit more softness, a little more body roll. You can see just feels a little more rounded, is again the way the Topher put it. Instead of feeling more square, the tire feels more round. The whole car feels like as you turn, there's more of a soft, round edge to it. I'm going to be quiet again over some of these bumps, see if they sound any different. It is very subtle, but it's almost as if there were just a bit more cushion over everything, and certainly some of it's going to be placebo. I mean, I'm only human, we're only human driving this car, Alyssa and Chris, so there's going to be a part of us that thinks, oh, there's more sidewall, it feels thicker to me, it feels smoother. Come around this 45 degree or 90 degree corner here. Still plenty of lateral grip, plenty of longitudinal grip as well. Over our 1,000-mile evaluation on each wheel and tire setup, the 19 feels more sporty. You can tell it speaks more to the Tesla ethos. If I owned the car by myself, or if we lived in more of a smooth road environment, not something like this, we'd probably stick with the 19s. That being said, the 18s feel more comfortable and easier to drive and more fit for day-to-day living with the car here in Michigan. Again, it's subtle, it's not revolutionary for the car, but it provides just a little bit more smooth pedestrian car feel. And ultimately, as much as we like to have fun with this car in certain situations, that's mostly how this car gets driven. It's cruising on the highway, it's driving through towns, it's doing errands with Alyssa, doing work appointments, that sort of thing. And for all those sort of jobs, it's just better to have a more grand touring pedestrian car type of feel. Wrapping everything up, taking a little page out of the Engineering Explained playbook here, a whiteboard. Try to make it a little easier for everybody. Distill down that information a little bit. Here are some of the main points we're walking away with from the 18s to the 19s. Efficiency, just about the same. We recorded 290 watt-hours per mile on our highway testing with both the 18s and the 19s. With the 18-inch wheels, we're noticing a softer ride compared to a firmer ride with the 19s. The 18s are also giving us a little bit lighter steering, whereas the 19s were giving us a more direct feel, a little bit less of that body roll that we noticed with the 18s. we describe the 18s as a rounder feel, a little more rounded edge to your steering, your sharp turns, whereas the 19s felt more square. The 18s should prove to be a little bit better in the snow. We haven't had a chance to actually test that, but because they are a little bit narrower, they should cut through the snow a little better than the 19s. However, the 19s should give us a little bit more lateral grip when cornering in the dry. The 18s are definitely cheaper to run as well. $750 for a new set of Extreme Contact DWS 06 Plus tires in 18-inch size, whereas the 19s would cost $966, so over $200 more for a set of 4 tires with the 19s. That being said, we do need to purchase new TPMS sensors for our 18s to get them to work with the Model Y. If you were to buy a set of 18-inch Model 3 wheels from a 2021 Model 3, you shouldn't have to worry about that. And lastly, the weight between the two. It's not a lot, it's really not going to play much into the efficiency aspect of the car, but 50 pounds with the Model 3 wheel and tire setup compared to 56 with the 19s. All that being said, we are going to stick with the 18s for our Tesla. It makes more sense for a daily driver type of car. I do prefer the look a little bit of the 19 Gemini wheels on the Model Y, but I'm more of a function over form sort of person, and Alyssa likes the look of the 18s a little bit better, so that's the way we're going. Thank you all so much for watching. We know this was a lot to take in. Hopefully you all who really care about this sort of topic found it interesting, found it useful. Thank you to Continental for working with us on this project. Let us know in the comments if there's anything else you'd like to know about this, something we didn't cover, something you'd like a little bit more information on. And also let us know if there's something you'd like to see tested in the future. Should we go larger? Should we try 20s or 21s? I can't imagine we'd like them very much, but it's something we could do. Should we try summer tires? Should we try winter tires? What would you like to see? And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.